Sonja Biserko, you are now sitting in Belgrade, and we here have Pristina and Mitrovica North perspective. We want to hear from the Belgrade perspective. How was it seen in Belgrade? The entire events that happened last 2-3 days in the north. How was it viewed in Belgrade? Was it seen as violence from Kosovo? Or as something else?
Well, it's very popular here to say that Kurti is responsible for everything, but many people do understand that this is kind of manipulation because, this Berlin-Paris agreement has not been accepted by Belgrade, as Dacic was saying yesterday. So it was a way to sort of get away from this, denial of any kind of serious acceptance of agreement with Kosovo. And I think that this manipulation of Serbs in Kosovo is also a problem for a long time behind us, because they exactly act as Belgrade wants. They're instrumentalized for all these years, especially since Srpska lista was installed.
But can I ask you about this to stop here? Do you see it as a response, the whole giving up of institutions, symbolically removing the uniforms, leaving Kosovo institutions from the local Serbs in the north? Is it seen as the response from grassroots population of Serbs living in the north of Kosovo, or as an imposing decision from Belgrade, from the top? Which one is it?
Well, it is seen as an imposition from Belgrade. It has always been a policy of Belgrade to instrumentalize Serbs in Kosovo. We have done many researches with Kosovo Serbs, and we know how they feel about Belgrade, and they have many, problems in dealing with it, but they also depend on Belgrade. So they're like hostages of Belgrade, totally impotent to do anything on their own, and even if they would be threatened by Belgrade.
Is the story of Kosovo plates, car plates in Belgrade clear that the Serbs living in Gračanica and in Štrpce, who are not worse Serbs, are okay using those plates, like the Kosovo state plates, while the Serbs in the north are not? Is there an understanding that the rest of the Serbs in Kosovo use Kosovo plates? Is that understanding in Serbia?
I don't think people really want to reflect on that. Many people who follow Kosovo situation and Belgrade Kosovo situation, they're quite aware that most of the Serbs do have Kosovo plates, and that even those who came to Belgrade for consultations with Vučić, many of them had Kosovo plates. So it is really manipulation. It's a very minor issue, these plates. It is not the real issue behind behavior of Belgrade and their withdrawal of Serbs from Kosovo institutions. It is really a step toward, some kind of partition of Kosovo, because this was the only ever solution that Belgrade was in favor of, and they didn't know how to reach that. Last few years ago, they reached it they reached at some point with Daci and Rama, but Angela Merkel stopped it, and now they don't know how to sort of create another person in Kosovo who would be able to continue this partition deal. And that's why Kurti was a target since he came into power. And all Belgrade tabloids and the president and all those in power are always putting blame on him and calling him a terrorist, and that he will organize pogrom of Serbs in Kosovo and so on.
Sonja, in addition to this being dictated by Belgrade, there is another narrative that is being told to Kosovar public here by Albin Kurti, the head of Kosovo government. Kosovo's prime minister has said that not only is this decision to leave Kosovo institutions dictated by Vučić, but Vučić is doing this in coordination with a Russian ambassador in Belgrade, with whom he consults regularly over this situation. Do you believe this is fictional and conspiratorial, or is there a truth to this?
I would agree with this statement because I just wanted to mention it because it's not only Belgrade wish, it's also Russian because they want frozen conflict here and in Bosnia, and they are creating chaos wherever they can throughout the planet. So this is the easiest one because Belgrade is so deeply infiltrated by Russians on all levels, security, church, academy, culture, and so on. So it was not difficult for them to follow this line, and I think Vučić, as he was always wanting partition, not only him, it is really, I would say, state position, not only him. It depends on who is in power and how one will be behaving and what strategy would be implemented. But in this case, Russia is very important, which is behind this. And of course, at this moment, as we know, we have this confrontation of Russia and Western political community, which is trying to finalize the Kosovo issue. And this is one of their priorities now, to put a full stop to Kosovo and to neutralize Russian malign influence in the region.
Because Sonja, because we don't follow what Mr. Vučić does daily from here, I'm wondering, is there any evidence to you and Kurti claiming that Vučić meets with the Russian ambassador regularly and discusses this? Is there evidence to this, to these meetings taking place in the last week? Are they regular meetings and consultations?
With Russian and Chinese ambassador, but he's also in communication with the American ambassador almost every day by phone, and probably they meet very frequently. So this is kind of a big power now game behind the scene, and unfortunately Serbia accepted to sort of to play this role, which is against Serbian interests generally. It's not only about Kosovo, but generally about what Serbia will be in the future.
And considering there is now the famous Franco-German offer on the table, although we're not clear of the details of this offer, is there a clear articulation from the Serbian government that they do not accept this offer?
Well, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ivica Dačić, said that Serbia cannot accept it and will not accept it. So it came from him, not from President Vučić, but this is also, they always have split roles, so we should take it seriously.
Is there any game of behaving like a bad cop, good cop type of strategy with Dačić saying unacceptable, Vučić considering it, or this is it? This is what Vučić also wants.
It's difficult to judge on that, but because so far Vučić was very skillful in manipulating his close surrounding. They all had roles like Alexander Vulin, for example, and now Ivica Dačić, who is considered pro-Russian, pro-Russian oriented. So I would say generally there's an agreement among them because this government is considered to be pro-Russian. It took 7 months before they they managed to sort of get the government done, among other things because they wanted to delay imposition of sanctions on Russia. Whether Vučić will do it or not, we don't know. Now he has given an interview to Financial Times saying that Serbia is going to diversify energy sources. Also, sort of telling that Serbia might overtake majority in the Nice and so on. I'm not sure what he really is aiming at this moment. Obviously, he's under the pressure from both sides, and he's still trying to sort of play between the two sides, but his maneuvering space is very limited and it is becoming smaller and smaller because he will have to decide what he really wants, because Serbia, objectively, is more connected with the West in terms of trade, in terms of help, in terms of investment, in terms of people going to the West, not to the East, and so on. So a real interest of Serbia is with Western Balkans and EU.
But can you, Sonja, comment also on the fact that although the Kosovo government has not rejected this offer, the Franco-German offer, like Dačić has, nevertheless, Kurti Kurti has not accepted it fully. He said that I've given my warnings, in Albanian vrejtje, in Serbian napomene. So it's not like the Kosovo government has accepted this offer with open arms either.
Well, I think the EU and the US will now continue with their behind-the-scene diplomacy, and that something will come out of it. They won't let it go just like that, because US and Ambassador Hill came here to finalize Kosovo issue, so he won't be defeated by Vučić or Kurti or anyone in the region. Therefore, this is something to be expected in the period ahead of us. So I'm really confident that something will be done on the positive side.
What do you think? What do you think, Sonja, about this Franco-German offer and deal? What is your take on it?
I haven't seen it like most of us, but many people say that it is the most that, for example, Serbia can get now, and that it would be unwise for Serbia to reject this plan. And obviously, there is not much to debate about Kosovo, Serbia, dialogue, because everything has been done over the last 10 years. It's really a matter of implementation of those agreements that were already signed in 2012 and so forth. So it is really about accepting what has already been signed. There are many other practical things that two sides have to agree, because it refers to everyday lives of ordinary people, both Serbs and Albanians. But here the major problem is that Serbia has to accept reality in the region, and Serbia is acting and trying to share the responsibility with Kosovo, in this case Kurti, because she doesn't want to get out of this, as defeated, because the Kosovo is already given. Many people these days are saying,
defeat and victory. That's why I go to my final question, because right now there's a lot of pressure on Kosovo government to accept and implement the Association of Serbian Municipalities agreement that was signed by previous governments. Do you, sitting where you are in Belgrade and knowing the Serbian politics, think that if Kosovo accepted to implement this agreement, would Serbia accept normalization of relations? Would Serbia accept recognizing Kosovo? Would our implementation of the association agreement open a whole new chapter with Serbia? Or whether Serbia will find other excuses to just not recognize Kosovo?
Here we talk about the steps, which one should be taken first, whether normalization and then association. I think normalization would be normally the first step, and then association. But this will depend on the EU and US and how they will deal this behind the scene or in the next period ahead of us. Because the problem is here, both sides are differently perceiving association of municipalities, because Belgrade has always understood it as some kind of Republika status, whereas Kosovo has all, has fears, rightly so, that it could be dysfunctional in terms of Kosovo state. And this is something that is on the table from the very beginning. And then at one point in 1915-16, they started to partition, because this was the deal that Belgrade was offering all the time.
So if Kosovo did what the West is asking Kosovo to do, the West is saying, make the association according to the Kosovo law. Just do some sort of association according to Kosovo law. Would this sort of association of Serb municipalities ever pacify Serbia, or whether they will not be satisfied with this?
I don't think Serbia will ever be satisfied, but it would be wise for the Kosovo government to accept this proposal from the West and to create something which is according to the Kosovo law. And after all, Kosovo law for decentralization is already containing all these elements that are contained in our plan. So I think there should be a step, but before that there has to be this normalization, act and agreement.
Sonja Biserko, thank you for being still engaged with Kosovo and Serbia, visiting Pristina so much, going back to Belgrade and offering us both perspectives. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Jeta.